Welcome to the Tiger Men's Lacrosse Report. I'm your host, Spiro Marikas, along with the head coach of the Tigers, Sean Nadlin. And Coach, Tigers bounced back after a rough game at Homewood Field against Hopkins with a convincing 15-5 victory against Mount St. Mary's. And as you look at the two games, the game against Hopkins, you were only able to get one goal out of your attack. Against Mount St. Mary's, that completely changed, led by Villa Gomez, who had 5.
Yeah, I think the past 2 years, Joaquin's really shown he likes to play against Mount. He had 6 goals in his freshman debut last year, and ended up having 5 on Saturday against him as well. So we just got to get him to think that every game, is against Mount St. Mary's, and that's nothing to say against them, but he just seems to step up and play really well there. But yeah, in regards to the attack production and being off in the first game and showing up in the second game, overall we just didn't shoot the ball well against Hopkins. 17%, increased that to 28%, against Mount St. Mary's. So that definitely helps, moving in the right direction. But there's definitely continued room for improvement and efficiency in our offensive, shooting.
You look at that Hopkins game, and early on, you guys were, it was back and forth. It was a tight ball game. The second half was dominated by Hopkins. Was it anything they were doing differently that led to the difference in the first and second halves?
Nothing crazy. I think it was just more kind of the wheels fell off for us in regards to composure and poise. We had a few penalties late in the third into the fourth, and you give a team like that who shoots the ball really well opportunity, they're gonna make you pay. We had it at 7-4, 7-5. 6 minutes left in the third quarter. It's a 2-goal game, and then they get 2 quick ones really quick there at the end of the third, and we just couldn't regroup. And then that's on me. Those 2 quick ones that they had within, I think, a minute and a half time. We need to settle our guys down, kind of get ourselves back on track if we can, out of a timeout, to make sure it doesn't go from the way it did, 7-5 to 8-5, 9-5, and so on. So. Learning curve overall, for our team from that instance in that game, and it showed, again, what we're capable of, because 40 minutes of that game was pretty decent, and also when we're not as focused, when we're not as sharp and playing well, things don't go as well, obviously.
I will mention you did not have one EMO opportunity in that game at Homewood Field. Now,
you could probably go back and track how many we've had, and count them on, your hand over the past 10 years of man-up opportunities there. So,
the Mount St. Mary's game, when you come off a loss against Hopkins, you certainly want to come out quick, and you did against the Mount on Saturday. I know that probably made you feel good.
It did. We coming out of the Hopkins game, watching that film, watching how things kind of transpired during the game. We felt like we, not that we got pushed around or anything, but we allowed, Hopkins to kind of take advantage of us in different ways and different aspects on the field that, again, weren't called, but probably could have been called situations. But again, that's on us as well. We weren't the aggressor. We weren't the ones really dictating and playing with our ears pinned back and playing hard. So we really challenged our guys across the board to really come out against Mount St. Mary's and play that way. And they did. They responded well. The tone was set very early through the face-off X, which was an area I thought we'd do decently at, against Hopkins, and we didn't. And part of that was our mentality and allowing them to dictate to us kind of how that went instead of us, flipping that around. So Matt did a great job. Our wing play did a great job. And then being able to parlay those reps into, goals.
All right, this week, Navy, a team Towson hasn't played in a few years. First off, how'd you get back hooked up with the Naval Academy?
Joe and I have had conversations over the years trying to find a date, and with the Patriot League having a lot of teams in their conference, as well as the CAA now having a lot of teams, it just makes it difficult. They have some traditional non-conference opponents, just like we do. So we've been trying to find a date, and it just worked out this year.
And you're going to see an old face over there on the Navy sideline in Dave Cottle, who late named their offensive coordinator. And I looked it up today because Glenn Smith mentioned to me during the broadcast on Saturday that Navy, 19 goals against Mount St. Mary's, 16 goals against Hofstra, and he was like, it has to be a long time since since Navy had 15 goals in back-to-back games, and I looked it up today, you have to go back to 2004. So obviously Coach Cottle has made a difference already with this midshipman team.
Yeah, well, one of the best coaches ever to coach the game at the collegiate level and professional level, and real players coach. And he's, I'm sure, inserting himself. He knows that staff very well. He knows their players pretty well. He's coached quite a few of them on the club scene. When he got out of coaching overall, and he's just very familiar with that. So he's got his hands in everything, in lacrosse anyways, and it's neat to see him work his way back on the sideline. I'm excited and happy for him. Know it's going to be a challenge, having to coach against him this coming weekend, but, really respect Coach Cottle and really great mentor of mine throughout my coaching career.
All right, so the Tigers will take on the Midshipmen Saturday at noon at Johnny Unitas Stadium. Hope everybody can make it out. If not, Ben Rosenbaum and Glenn Smith will have the call for you at 12 o'clock on Saturday. So for the head coach of the Tigers, Sean Nadlin, I'm Spiro Marikas. Thanks for tuning in to another edition of the Tiger Men's Lacrosse Report.